Hello, so this is my submission for experiment 2. So this is the first piece and it was the field recording piece. My field recording, it sounded like the person was in a car, and I have one distinct memory of me in a car, so I decided to portray that. So it's myself and my dad on a drive that kind of was a difficult one. Yeah, we were on our way to hospital. Yeah, and then this is the start of my colour theory work. Basically, I really like this song called Chromatics, and it kind of rang true with the looking at different types of colour. So I decided to kind of create a little book where the lyrics kind of pair up with the imagery. It's 3 minutes long if you want to skip it.
Sometimes the sun is so strong that I melt down to you. Swimming myself in a sticky red pool on the floor. So full of joy I could burst into chromatic flame. So beautiful and I know that I need nothing more. Like a bullet from muzzle to marrow, we pass through this line. And from cradle to grave, we are lost and confused and deranged. Bombarded by beauty, belittled and honored and loved. I hope that we get to do it all over again. And when the night comes, all of us go down quite eventually. No more worries or cares, nothing is left. But should we wake up, warm held in our mothers' arms, listening for radio, a static that tells us who we are. Are we lonely or not? Is this thing that we've got worth the risk? Do we dare to speak up where our true hearts like tasteless old times? All these infernal ladders to nowhere to track from the light. Is it courage I lack or a sense of direction in life? For when the night comes, all of us go down quite eventually. No more worries or cares, nothing.
Yeah, sorry about the length of that. I just thought it'd be nice to include it. So then I worked into some of my colour studies and turned them into prints that I was able to sell. I really liked kind of giving my work a new purpose. Yeah, I thought that was really fun. And I also had a go at needle felting. So this is just some of the colour studies using that technique. I was keen to kind of learn new techniques over the lockdown period, so this is one of them. I really like the outcome. I like how earthy it looks. And then I collaged a series of responses to the colour theory project. However, in this state, they didn't really feel completely me. So you're about to see I changed the colours around, and obviously they've ended up looking a lot more me and kind of in keeping with my bright colours. Yeah. And so these collages, I just kind of had them sitting around. So I wanted to create something worthwhile with them. So I created a series of prints. Um, this is them. And I really, again, I like the idea of kind of repurposing a piece of work and giving it a bit more depth, just making it a bit more visually appealing. So yeah, I was really happy with the outcome of these, and I also did a series of vases in the same kind of way. Um, so then this is my 40 images learning to love the rectangle project. Found it quite tedious because I work in quite a quick and methodical way, and so having to draw 40 times was not ideal. And then these are the 6 outcomes where I worked with the composition and inclusion of text into the pieces. I'm not 100% happy with these, but by this point I had drawn them so many times, I was just eager to get them out of the way. I also tried cyanotypes in this project, and I really enjoyed doing that. However, it was kind of a bit hit and miss. So I've learnt some new techniques and ways in which I can hopefully avoid cyanotypes going wrong in the future. So that's kind of useful to have. These were my initial, well, I thought these were my final responses to the Side to Sound project. 2 different songs, 2 different responses. I prefer the one on the left. But this was meant to be the main work, but then the supporting work I did ended up kind of like outshining this, and I'm much more satisfied with the other stuff I did. I did a bit of moving image work, so that's coming on in a second, and it just kind of fit in with kind of where I'm at the moment and what I've been doing. So yeah, that's about to start now. So yeah. So I like to document my work in my sketchbook. So this is just kind of the summer projects written up. I just find writing things up in my sketchbook to be quite beneficial and a time to reflect. The Learning to Love the Rectangle project, I found it quite interesting because when I started it, I was like, I already love the rectangle. Like, I automatically will do a piece in a rectangular format. So I found the title of that quite interesting, and I kind of changed it around to I already love the rectangle. Yeah, so move on to the project. So these are some initial responses from the character development workshop with Rachel and Kevin, and so we were given prompts like minimal, abstract, and I actually found these quite useful, and I also found the figures quite relevant in where I'm at the moment in my personal life. This a response to the drawing from memory workshop, which I actually quite enjoyed, and then some research on Wedgwood, who is my current favourite artist, Matisse, who will always be one of my main inspirations. And then I came across this body of work to do with Greek mythology, but it was just in quite a graphic way, which I really enjoyed looking into. And then I did some responses to the artists I looked at. I want to screen print kind of some pieces like that, and I want to risograph pieces like that. I then rewrote the story in my own words and kind of planned out how many like sides I thought it would fill. And then we've got characters, and I kind of tried to stick the characters with symbols that would represent who they are, and in Greek mythology, symbolism's used a lot, so this was like quite useful. I had this idea that I wanted to do a poster that opened out on the back of my concertina. So this was my idea for the poster. And I'm quite proud of that piece actually. I then decided, instead of drawing the people as people, perhaps I could draw them as the symbols that represent them. So I started going down a bit of a more abstract route at this point. I then used the figures that I cut out and I stuck them on my window, and I also used them to kind of lay out different compositions. The light shining through shone shadows on my wall, which I really enjoyed. So at this point, I'd kind of drawn out my narrative. I knew how it was going to look. And then I'd done a sample whereby I'd painted in this style, and then I'd edited the colours, and I really liked the effect of it. But as you can see, the story's been lost to the colour. There's too much colour, too much in your face brightness going on. So at first it wasn't a problem, but slowly I was kind of seeing a lot of faults with the composition I'd chosen. I then edited into it and thought I'd got it, but I hadn't. And by this point, I'd already ordered screens to screen print my design. I'm really made up with how the screen prints came out. However, the print technicians had trouble aligning the A2 screens, and so this has meant that my prints don't line up and fold in the way that I want. However, I think the way that I did them lends itself really well to screen printing. So whilst this didn't end up being my final piece, I am happy with the outcome. Here you can see me struggling to try and unfold the poster, and then in about 10 seconds you will see it unfolded without me messing around, and I'm happy with it. I didn't use one of my best prints for this because obviously it was a trial and error. I didn't want to cut one of the better ones up, so it's not the best kind of print overall. Then I changed around the colours. The colours were representing the underworld and then the normal world and kind of emotions. And again, like, I was happy with this, and I think it looks a lot better than what I had done. However, I felt at this point I'd done a lot of working into that design, and perhaps, given that I had maybe 2 or 3 weeks left, perhaps I should explore a different avenue, go from the start. So that's what I ended up doing, and I kind of think that ended up being for the best, because I was stuck in this one specific idea, and doing the tutorials with Sharon and then having the one with Ian as well meant that I was able to share my ideas and receive feedback, and kind of realise that actually I think that I should have just left it and started afresh. So I'm happy with the decision I made. I decided to execute this by collaging white onto black because working in this inverse way kind of produces some interesting qualities to the collages that come out of it. I particularly like seeing like the graininess of oil pastel on the black paper. And this is the finished design, and I'm a lot more happier with this. Yeah, and so this is a printed out version, and I just feel like it flows a lot better. And I have tried to kind of represent each character in a better way, kind of less abstract, more to the point, whilst retaining that abstract quality which I kind of value in my work. I like it not to be just what you see. What you see is what you get. There's always a bit of like a story beneath it. So yeah, and then I just edited it and showed it digitally. So my idea from this point is I was gonna turn it into a tapestry, and kind of sew all these elements, maybe incorporate a bit of felting. However, I was pretty burnt out by this point, and I thought I want to simulate the tapestry on Procreate, but I just didn't think it was worth investing my time into because I've already produced a number of outcomes. So this is kind of the tapestry style outcome where I've tried to show the lines as embroidery, and I think it's actually come out pretty okay. Yeah, had we had access to the studios, I feel like I would have been able to execute this fully, but I've just kind of not been fully invested into it. And then just a kind of last bit, I created this piece based on where I'm at in myself at the moment, just kind of struggling to understand who I am. So I hope that gives context to why I've perhaps cut a few corners in this project. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the new year.